Imagine waking up one morning to find the Golden State, California, has broken away from the rest of the United States due to a massive earthquake. Sounds like a Hollywood movie, doesn't it? This concept, as outlandish as it seems, has been a popular topic of conversation, often fueled by blockbuster films and sensationalized media stories. The idea of California breaking away and becoming an island isn't just a figment of the imagination, though. It finds roots in the realm of science, seismology to be exact. The Golden State is no stranger to earthquakes, with the San Andreas fault line running right through it, a constant reminder of the potential for seismic activity. So this seemingly far-fetched scenario of California breaking off isn't entirely without basis, but could this really happen? Let's delve into the science behind this. The key player in our story is the infamous San Andreas fault line. This geological wonder stretches over 800 miles, spanning the length of California from the Salton Sea in the south right up to Cape Mendocino in the north. It's not just any fault line, but a transformed boundary where the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate meet. Imagine two massive slabs of Earth's crust, each several miles thick, grinding against each other. The Pacific Plate to the west moves northwestward relative to the North American Plate to the east. This isn't a smooth, seamless movement, mind you. The plates catch and hold, their jagged edges locked together while the rest of the plates keep moving. The tension builds up like a coiled spring until eventually something's got to give. When it does, that's when we feel an earthquake. The energy released in these seismic events can be equivalent to several thousand nuclear bombs. It's this potential for massive earthquakes that makes the San Andreas fault line infamous. The last big one, in fact, was the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. It reached a magnitude of 7.9 on the Richter scale and caused widespread destruction. But that's not the end of the story. You see, the movement along the San Andreas fault averages about 1.5 inches per year. Not much, you might think, but over centuries that adds up. And here's the thing, the southern section of the fault hasn't had a significant earthquake for over 300 years. That's a lot of tension built up. Geologists call this a seismic gap, and it's a cause for concern. But does this mean California is destined to break off and float away into the Pacific? That's a myth. The movement of these tectonic plates is horizontal, not vertical. So while earthquakes may change the landscape, they won't send California adrift. So, given the volatile nature of the San Andreas fault, is the big break a certainty? Well, it's more complex than a simple yes or no. But we'll delve into that in our next scene. While the San Andreas fault is capable of producing significant earthquakes, the idea of California breaking off is quite far-fetched. Let's dive into this a bit. The idea of California breaking away from the rest of the United States due to an earthquake is a classic Hollywood plot, but the reality is far less dramatic. The San Andreas fault, where the Pacific and North American tectonic plates meet, is indeed a hotbed of seismic activity. However, these plates don't just move in any direction, they move horizontally, sliding past each other. This type of boundary, known as a transform boundary, causes a lot of shaking, but it doesn't cause land to break away and drift off. Imagine you're sitting at a table pushing a dinner plate in front of you. The plate might move, it might even tip over if you push hard enough, but it's not going to suddenly break away from the table and float off into the air. That's essentially what's happening with the tectonic plates. They're sliding past each other, causing friction and sometimes resulting in earthquakes, but they're not going to split apart and send California sailing into the Pacific. Now, if we were dealing with a divergent boundary where the plates are moving away from each other, or a convergent boundary where one plate is being forced under another, then we might have a different story. But the San Andreas fault is a transformed boundary, so the land on either side is staying put. That's not to say that earthquakes aren't a serious concern. They are. They can cause significant damage and loss of life, and it's important for everyone, especially those living near fault lines, to be prepared. So, while California won't be floating off into the Pacific anytime soon, earthquakes are a real threat that we need to prepare for. In the next part of our video, we'll discuss how to do exactly that with a focus on essential survival items for any disaster scenario. Stay tuned. Scene script. Earthquakes are unpredictable and can be devastating. It's crucial to be prepared. So, let's talk about how we can brace ourselves for these tremors. It all starts with a plan. Having a clear, well-thought-out emergency plan is the first step towards disaster preparedness. Your plan should include a safe place to take cover in your home or workplace, a meeting point for your family, and an out-of-town contact who can help coordinate if local lines are jammed. Remember, communication is key during an emergency. Next, securing your space is vital. Heavy items like bookcases, refrigerators, televisions, and other large furniture can cause serious injury if they topple over during an earthquake. Anchor these items to the wall to prevent them from falling. Don't forget about the smaller items too. Use Quake putty or Quake hold to secure items like picture frames, vases, and other knickknacks. It's the little things that can make a big difference. Another essential tip is to know how to turn off your utilities. In the aftermath of an earthquake, gas leaks and electrical sparks can lead to fires. Ensure you and your family members know where your utility shutoffs are and how to safely turn them off. Also, remember to regularly update and practice your plan. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. The more familiar you are with your plan, the better you'll be able to execute it under stress. Lastly, don't forget about your pets. They're part of your family too. Make sure your plan includes their needs and don't leave them behind if you have to evacuate. In a world where earthquakes are a reality, preparedness is not an option, it's a necessity. It's about safeguarding our homes, our loved ones, and our lives. Being prepared is half the battle won. But what specific items should you have on hand? Tune into our next segment to find out. In the face of a disaster, certain items can make the difference between life and death. First on our list is a first aid kit. Now, this isn't your everyday scrape-your-knee kind of first aid kit. We're talking about a comprehensive kit that can treat injuries and illnesses of a more serious nature. It should contain bandages, antiseptics, painkillers, and even a suture kit. You never know when you might need to stitch up a wound. In a disaster situation, medical help might not be immediately available, and a first aid kit becomes your best friend. Next up, we have water purification tablets. Clean drinking water is a basic necessity. After a disaster, access to clean water can become a challenge. These tiny tablets can be a lifesaver. They're easy to use. Just drop one into a liter of water, wait for about 30 minutes, and voila, you have potable water. This simple solution can prevent the risk of waterborne diseases. Third on our list is a hand crank radio. In times of disaster, communication lines might go down, making it difficult to receive important updates and instructions. This is where a hand crank radio comes in handy. It doesn't require batteries or electricity to operate, just a few turns of the crank, and you're connected to the outside world, keeping you informed and aware. Our fourth essential item is a multi-tool. Think of it as a compact toolbox that fits in your pocket. It usually includes a knife, a can opener, a screwdriver, and sometimes even a mini saw. This practical tool can help you with a myriad of tasks, from opening canned food to cutting through obstructions. Lastly, we have emergency blankets, also known as space blankets. These lightweight metallic sheets are designed to retain up to 90% of your body heat. In a disaster scenario where you might be exposed to harsh weather conditions, these blankets can help prevent hypothermia and other cold-related conditions. These 5 items, a first aid kit, water purification tablets, a hand crank radio, a multi-tool, and emergency blankets, are essential components of any disaster preparedness kit. They're compact, easy to use, and most importantly, they can help you survive in the wake of a disaster. Remember, preparedness is key. Stay safe, stay prepared, and keep the Golden State shining.